The Vraxian Imperium had ruled the Orion Arm for 8 centuries, crushing resistance with methodical precision. Humanity, confined to a mere 17 systems, had learned to survive by keeping their heads down. That was until High Commander Kenzith ordered the orbital bombardment of New Canberra, 3 million souls erased in a demonstration of dominance. Admiral Ilara Frost stood at the viewport of the UNDF Indomitable, watching the fleet assemble. Grief had hardened into rage across her weathered features, eyes reflecting the cold burn of distant stars. Behind her, the War Council remained silent, the weight of their decision pressing down on each member. "We've exhausted all diplomatic. Our channels," General Maddox said, breaking the silence. His prosthetic arm whirred softly as he adjusted his uniform. "The Vraxians refuse to acknowledge any wrongdoing. They claim New Canberra was harboring insurgents. They've been testing our boundaries for decades," Fleet Admiral Octavia Reeves added, her once raven hair now streaked with silver. "Each incursion more brazen than the last. The bombing wasn't a message, it was the beginning of our extinction." Ilara turned from the viewport. "Then we proceed with Operation Prometheus." The words hung in the air like a death knell. Few in the room had believed it would come to this, yet here they were, preparing to unleash the most dangerous weapon humanity had ever created. Not a device, but a person. Deep within the Indomitable, in a specially designed chamber, Warden Ishikawa led Ilara through multiple security checkpoints. The final door opened to reveal a circular room with a single cryopod at its center. Frost-covered glass concealed its occupant, illuminated by soft blue light. "He's been in stasis for 83 years, Ishikawa explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "Ever since the Callisto incident." Ilara placed her palm against the scanner. "Begin revival sequence for Asset Lazarus." "Admiral," Ishikawa hesitated. "Are you certain?" "Once we wake him." "I'm aware of the risks, Warden." Her voice was steel. "But we've tried everything else. The Vraxians pushed us too far, and now they'll learn why even we feared Keldric Voss." The cryopod hummed to life, its systems beginning the careful process of awakening its occupant. Few people alive remembered the man personally. Most knew him only through heavily redacted historical accounts and whispered legends. The first and last of the Augment Vanguard program. The man who single-handedly ended the Mars Rebellion by dismantling an entire terrorist organization in 3 days. The operative so dangerous that humanity had collectively decided to put him on ice. As the frost cleared from the glass, Ilara gazed upon the face of humanity's most feared legend. Beneath closed eyelids lay the consciousness of a living weapon, a perfect convergence of genetic engineering, neural enhancement, and ruthless training. His official kill count remained classified at the highest level. "Vraxian High Command believes they understand humanity," Ilara murmured. "They think they know our limits, our breaking points. They mistake our restraint for weakness." The pod's seals hissed as they released. Keldric Voss's eyes snapped open, unnaturally bright, calculating, and entirely too aware for someone who had been unconscious for nearly a century. "They have no idea what they've awakened," she finished. Keldric Voss sat motionless in the briefing room, absorbing 83 years of history in hours. His features remained perfectly composed, angular face framed by close-cropped silver, hair, eyes, an unsettling shade of amber. Nothing about his physical appearance suggested the terror his name once invoked. "The Vraxians have maintained superiority through their quantum entanglement weapons," Intelligence Officer Leora Nazari explained, cycling through tactical displays. "Their ships can fire in perfect synchronization across vast distances, overwhelming our defenses." Voss spoke for the first time, his voice surprisingly soft, yet commanding. "You woke me to fight an empire with significantly advanced technology. It wasn't a question. Admiral Frost nodded. We've held our own through guerrilla tactics, but after New Canberra, conventional warfare is suicide. You need something unconventional. Voss studied the holographic display of Vraxian physiology, seven-limbed beings with distributed nervous systems and redundant organs, something they can't quantify. The room fell silent as Voss stood, moving with fluid precision to the tactical display. He navigated through classified files with authorized access that should have been impossible for someone recently revived. Your systems were updated while I slept, he explained without being asked. I can interface directly with your network. Dr. Haviland, the xenobiologist, flinched. That enhancement was deemed illegal under the Singapore Accords. I predate those accords, Doctor. Voss manipulated the display, focusing on Vraxian command structure. They're hierarchical to a fault. Remove the command node, the network collapses. Their high command never leaves Vraxian space, Admiral Reeves objected. Surrounded by thousands of warships, a slight curve appeared at the corner of Voss's mouth, not quite a smile. You misunderstand. I don't need to reach their homeworld. Within 12 hours, Voss had assimilated everything about the enemy and formulated a plan that bordered on madness. A lone infiltration of the Vraxian forward command post in the Eta Cassiopeia system. This is suicide, Captain Rhodes protested during the final briefing. Even with your capabilities. Suicide would be continuing as you have been, Voss countered. The Vraxians are studying your patterns, adapting. You've lost 16 systems in the past decade. At current trajectories, humanity has 26 years before extinction. Admiral Frost watched Voss with a mixture of awe and unease. She had known the legends, read the classified files, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of Keldric Voss. A human calculator of violence, devoid of hesitation or doubt. 3 days later, Voss departed in a modified stealth corvette, smallest in the human fleet. As the ship vanished into slipspace, Commander Aaron Pike approached Frost on the observation deck. "Do you think he can actually succeed?" Pike asked. "I think we're about to find out why our ancestors locked him away," Frost replied. "The records say that during the Mars Rebellion, Voss infiltrated the insurgent headquarters alone. When reinforcements arrived 12 hours later, they found him calmly drinking tea amid the bodies of 53 combatants." Pike swallowed hard. "And you believe those stories?" Frost turned away from the viewport. "The official reports actually downplayed it. My grandmother was on the cleanup crew. She said what scared them most wasn't the violence, it was his efficiency, the complete absence of rage or passion. In the void between stars, the stealth corvette emerged near the Vraxian defensive perimeter. At the controls, Voss made microscopic adjustments, threading through sensor nets and patrol patterns calculated to the second. Asset Lazarus to control. His calm voice transmitted across encrypted channels. "Commencing Operation Prometheus. Radio silence begins now." The corvette slipped between two Vraxian dreadnoughts, invisible to their sensors, carrying humanity's most dangerous legend toward the heart of the enemy. The Vraxian command station orbited Eta Cassiopeia B like a metallic spider, central, hub connected to 7 symmetrical arms, each housing specialized functions. Supreme Commander Korvash stood before the tactical display, all 4 of his primary eyes focused on the human defensive formations. "Their resistance is becoming more coordinated," he observed to his second matriarch Zyvex. "Increase pressure on the Perseus line. When it breaks, we'll have a direct path to their shipyards at Aldebaran." "As you command," Zyvex responded, her translator converting complex harmonic vocalizations into human language for the benefit of the slave translators. Neither noticed the infinitesimal disruption in the waste processing system's exhaust pattern, AE, calculated intrusion timed precisely between sensor sweeps. Voss moved through the station's maintenance conduits like a ghost, his enhanced physiology allowing him to navigate toxic environments that would kill an unmodified human in seconds. The nanomesh skin suit he wore absorbed ambient heat, rendering him thermally invisible. Inside his augmented mind, a perfect three-dimensional map of the station, updated with each new observation. He had studied every scrap of intelligence on Vraxian physiology, technology, and culture. Now he put that knowledge to lethal use. The first Vraxian to die was a maintenance technician, killed so swiftly and silently that the neural shock didn't even trigger the species' characteristic death pheromone release. Voss appropriated the creature's access implant, integrating it with his own neural interface. Over the next 6 hours, 13 more Vraxians disappeared from their posts. Each death strategically timed and positioned to avoid detection while providing Voss with increasing levels of access. He didn't just kill, he harvested information, downloading crucial intelligence from isolated terminals that could never be accessed remotely. In the station's security hub, Officer Drask noticed an anomalous power fluctuation in Section 12G. "Maintenance team to Corridor 37, he ordered routinely. When no acknowledgement came, he dispatched a security patrol. They found nothing but an empty corridor, because Voss was already elsewhere, inside the Quantum Communication Center, silently eliminating 3 technicians before accessing the primary communication array. Here was the linchpin of the Vraxian network, the node through which their entire battle coordination flowed. Voss inserted the specialized data core developed by human cyber warfare experts. Unlike crude viruses, this was something altogether more insidious, a quantum algorithm that would propagate through the entanglement network, corrupting command protocols across the entire Vraxian fleet. As he worked, his enhanced hearing detected approaching guards, heavy footfalls of armored Vraxian elites. 15 seconds until they breached the door. Voss completed the upload with 5 seconds to spare. As the doors slid open, he was already moving, a blur of calculated violence. The first guard died before registering the human presence. The second managed to fire a plasma burst that would have vaporized any normal human. But Keldric Voss was engineered beyond normal human limitations. He flowed around the energy discharge like water, closing the distance within human speed. His neural augmentations processed combat variables faster than conscious thought, each movement optimized for maximum effect with minimum energy expenditure. When the last guard fell, Voss accessed the command center's internal communications, broadcasting a single message throughout the station, a string of Vraxian cultural code phrases meticulously constructed to sow maximum confusion. Then the station's lights flickered as the virus reached the power distribution network. Phase 1 was complete. Now came the challenging part, extraction with the harvested intelligence. As alarms finally blared throughout the station, Supreme Commander Korvash received the impossible report. A single human had infiltrated their impenetrable headquarters. More disturbing still, their quantum communication network was showing signs of degradation across all channels. "Find this human," he ordered, mandibles clicking with fury, "and prepare my shuttle." But Voss was already 3 steps ahead, moving purposefully toward his new target, the Supreme Commander himself. Admiral Frost paced the bridge of the Indomitable, anxiety gnawing at her composure. 6 days had passed since Voss disappeared into enemy territory, 2 days longer than the mission parameters allowed. "Any signal from Asset Lazarus?" she asked for the 100th time. Communications Officer Econ shook his head. "Nothing, Admiral, but there's something strange happening to the Vraxian fleet movements." The tactical display showed it clearly. The previously coordinated Vraxian battle groups were exhibiting subtle irregularities. Ships fell out of formation by microseconds, targeting algorithms desynchronized in ways barely perceptible to human observation. The virus, Fleet Admiral Reeves breathed. It's working. Before celebrations could begin, a priority alert flashed across the command console. A single ship had emerged from slipspace, a Vraxian command shuttle broadcasting an emergency human recognition code. Weapons locked, Tactical Officer Nazami reported. Hold fire, Frost ordered as communications crackled to life. Control, this is Asset Lazarus, Voss's calm voice transmitted. Request immediate clearance. I've brought guests. The shuttle's visual feed activated, showing Voss at the controls. Behind him, restrained in neural inhibitors, sat Supreme Commander Korvash and 3 high-ranking Vraxian officers. A collective gasp swept through the bridge. Capturing Vraxian leadership was considered impossible, not merely difficult, but actually beyond contemplation. When the shuttle docked, Frost met it personally, flanked by a full security detail. The boarding ramp lowered to reveal Voss, immaculate, despite days behind enemy lines. The only evidence of combat was a faint discoloration on his left temple, where accelerated healing had repaired a plasma burn. Admiral, he nodded, gesturing to his prisoners, I believe these individuals possess information vital to ending this conflict. The Vraxians were secured in specialized holding cells while Voss underwent debriefing. The intelligence he had extracted was incalculable. Complete schematics of the Vraxian quantum communication network, command protocols, fleet deployments, and most crucially, the biochemical authorization codes embedded in high-ranking Vraxians. How? General Maddox demanded during the secure briefing. How did one man infiltrate their headquarters and extract their commander? I merely observed their patterns, Voss explained dispassionately. The Vraxians value symmetry and precision above all else. That makes them predictable. The data painted a clear picture. The virus Voss had implanted was causing cascading failures throughout the Vraxian command structure. Ships were losing coordination capacity, weapons systems falling out of synchronization. We have approximately 72 hours, Voss continued, before they isolate and neutralize the virus. That's our window to strike. Admiral Frost studied the tactical projections. Even with their communications compromised, we're still outnumbered. 10-1. Numbers are irrelevant, Voss countered. With Supreme Commander Korvash, we possess something far more valuable than ships. He outlined his plan, using Korvash's biometric signatures and command codes to issue retreat orders to the entire Vraxian fleet. A simple yet devastating strategy that no Vraxian would have anticipated because it required something they couldn't comprehend, a human willing to infiltrate their headquarters alone. It's elegant, Admiral Reeves admitted, but can we trust that it will work? Voss regarded her with those unsettling amber eyes. Trust is irrelevant, Admiral. Probability is what matters, and the probability of success is 97%. As the human fleet prepared for the daring counterattack, Frost found Voss in the observation lounge, staring at the stars with an unreadable expression. After this, she ventured, what happens to you? You mean, do I go back into the box? His voice held no accusation, merely clinical detachment. That would be logical. I was created for a world that no longer exists. For the first time, Frost glimpsed something almost human beneath the engineered perfection, not vulnerability, but perhaps awareness of his isolation. The Council might see things differently after this, she offered. Voss turned to face her. Admiral, I was locked away because humanity feared what I represent. That hasn't changed. The klaxons sounded, calling them to battle stations. The final phase was about to begin. The human fleet assembled at the edge of the Procyon system, smaller than its Vraxian counterpart, but positioned with precision. At its center, the UNDF Indomitable held station, its communications array modified to broadcast on Vraxian quantum frequencies. In the specialized transmission chamber, Keldric Voss stood beside the restrained form of Supreme Commander Corvash. The Vraxian's compound eyes revealed nothing, but the subtle vibration of his secondary limbs betrayed his agitation. "Your cooperation is appreciated," Voss stated, administering a carefully calibrated neurochemical compound to the commander's central nervous cluster. Though ultimately unnecessary, the drug would ensure Corvash remained conscious while rendering him incapable of alerting his forces through subtle vocal inflections. Vraxian communication was layered with meaning. Voss needed the commander, lucid enough to provide authentic biometric readings, but controlled enough to deliver the exact message prepared for him. "Transmission ready," Lieutenant Orla Matsuda confirmed from the control station. Admiral Frost gave the order. "Begin Operation Prometheus, final phase." The quantum communicator activated, broadcasting directly into the command circuits of every Vraxian vessel. Supreme Commander Corvash appeared on their view screens, his posture and biochemical signatures authenticating his identity beyond question. In flawless Vraxian harmonic speech, a skill Voss had perfected during his mission, the message was, "Delivered. Immediate withdrawal of all forces from human space due to a critical security breach compromising the entire fleet." The coded authentication sequences extracted during Voss's infiltration accompanied the transmission. On the command decks of 1,000 Vraxian ships, confusion gave way to compliance. The Imperium's strict hierarchy meant questioning a direct order from Supreme Command was unthinkable. One by one, ships began plotting withdrawal vectors. "It's working," General Maddox breathed, watching the tactical display as red icons began shifting away from human positions. But not all Vraxians were so easily deceived. Matriarch Zyvex, acting commander in Corvash's absence, detected subtle abnormalities in the transmission. "Countermand," she ordered through secondary channels. "The Supreme Commander is compromised." For a crucial moment, the Vraxian fleet hesitated, caught between contradictory commands. Voss had anticipated this possibility. "Initiate secondary protocol," he instructed calmly. Throughout the Vraxian network, the dormant second phase of his virus activated, targeting specifically the authentication systems. Every counterorder now appeared suspicious, while Corvash's transmission gained additional verification markers. In the chaotic information environment, the majority of the Vraxian fleet chose to follow their Supreme Commander's orders. What began as orderly withdrawal devolved into confusion as ships responded to conflicting commands, breaking formation and exposing vulnerabilities. "All units, engage," Admiral Frost ordered. The human fleet struck with surgical precision, targeting communication nodes and command vessels identified by Voss's intelligence. Without their perfect coordination, the technologically superior Vraxians found themselves outmaneuvered by the more adaptable human tactics. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Voss observed the battle with analytical detachment. "Recommend focusing. Fire on grid sectors 17 through 23, he suggested, identifying the weakest points in the disorganized Vraxian formation. What followed was not merely a victory, but a complete reversal of fortune. Within hours, the vaunted Vraxian fleet, terror of the Orion Arm for centuries, was in full retreat, leaving behind disabled vessels and shattered battle groups. 3 days later, a Vraxian delegation approached under flag of truce, requesting terms of surrender and the return of Supreme Commander Corvash. The war that had seemed unwinnable a week earlier was effectively over. In the aftermath, humanity reclaimed its lost territories and established new boundaries that the Vraxian Imperium, its myth of invincibility shattered, was forced to acknowledge. During the victory ceremony, aboard the Indomitable, Admiral Frost searched for Voss among the assembled heroes, but found no trace of him. Later, she discovered him in the ship's arboretum, studying a flowering plant with scientific interest. "The Council has reached a decision," she informed him. "In light of your service, the stasis sentence has been commuted." Voss looked up, his expression unchanged. "And their alternative, supervised freedom. You'll work with a special task force, deploying your abilities only when absolutely necessary." For the first time, something like amusement crossed his features. "They still fear me." "Yes," Frost admitted, "but they respect you now, too. The Vraxians pushed us too far, and we unleashed our most feared legend. Their downfall was swift. Because of you." Voss considered the flowering plant once more before responding. "Fear is rational, Admiral. I was designed to be feared." He stood, straightening to his full height. "But I accept their terms." As they walked from the arboretum toward humanity's uncertain future, a subtle shift had occurred in the balance of power among the stars. The legend of Keldric Voss would spread through the galaxy, not just as humanity's most feared weapon, but as the harbinger of a new era in which humanity would never again be underestimated. The Vraxians had learned too late what it meant to push humanity beyond its limits. They had awakened something they couldn't comprehend, the terrible resolve of a species that had once feared its own potential.